I can't take you seriously.
3, 2.
Hey, welcome back to Clocked Out Podcast. We're your host, Mole and Stick. You heard that right. It's just Mole and Stick tonight. Our beloved Avery is tackling the stomach flu. Hit her hard. I think this morning it hit her pretty hard. I think she was saying. Yeah, so she's resting, hopefully drinking all of her fluids, and we'll be back next week to add her little spice she brings to every episode. Keeps McCall and I in check. Wait, who's
Yep.
McCall?
I don't know.
Why'd I
It's
just
weird.
say that?
We aren't making any money. We can't hire somebody else.
Yeah, right. We could have had a podcast guest, I guess.
That's true.
I mean,
Mm.
it was last minute. I mean, Abe's fighting for her life. So,
Yeah, she's pregnant. We gotta cut her a break.
yeah, we can't be harassing her too much.
Can't
Might be
run
a little...
too tight of a ship.
Yeah. Can't let her... She might leave us if we're too mean.
Yeah, don't need that.
Nope. But anyway, today we are going to dive into kind of navigating life in our early 20s, like friendships, embracing our failures, learning to do things alone, finding happiness, and just like being patient and living in the moment.
Some of those things we might still be working on, but
Hey, work in progress always, baby.
always.
Always. What's your favorite memory from your early 20s, Mole?
Oh, wow. That's deep. Really caught me off guard there.
Yeah, hitting you with the hard questions right away.
Yeah, hit me with your best shot.
I'm trying to think too.
Shit.
Were our 20s that rough? We can't
I
recall a
think,
good memory?
yeah, I can't think of, honestly, I'm struggling to think of a
I would
memory.
say, yeah, I would say meeting Dylan, but that was more my mid 20s. I was 25 when I met him. So
I
does
met
that count?
Caleb. I mean, I guess I met Caleb when I was 21.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I was 19.
Oh,
Sorry.
wow. I didn't
Hmm.
realize you met him that young.
Yeah, we worked together in college. We met
Oh,
at Dick's
I
Sporting Goods.
I did know that.
Yeah,
That just slipped my brain.
yeah.
That's
Formerly known as Craig.
yes. I still
Hmm.
call him Craig. Craig and Mole.
Craig and Mole. Yeah, that
I
was pretty
forgot.
good.
That seems like a lifetime ago that you guys worked at Dick's together.
Yeah, we worked
Is
at
it not?
Dick's. Yeah, it does seem like a long time ago. I mean, we look like one completely different humans.
Yeah,
And
you were just babies.
yeah, we were babies.
You just graduated high
Um,
school.
yeah, we just graduated high school. I had a long-term boyfriend at the time that I was dating when we were working together at Dick's. So we were
Just strictly friends.
honestly, I didn't even talk to him when I first started working there. I
So
just
you're
knew he
saying
worked in the lodge.
it wasn't love at first sight, is what you're saying.
Um, it was. I thought he was cute.
You had the googly eyes for him.
Yeah, I had the googly eyes for him. My boyfriend at the time was totally just trying to like do the breakup fade with me, like just not hang
Yeah.
out with me kind of thing.
Kind of like slowly ghost you.
Yeah, right. My boyfriend of 3 years was trying to slowly ghost me at the time.
Trash.
um, yeah. Um, so Caleb and I worked at Dick's together, and every day I came in, he would always tell me that I looked nice and let me set the
Aw.
scene. Most of the time it was
Wow.
me coming in from an all-night bender with maybe one fake eyelash still strip lash on my eye, and he'd my hair pulled up in a messy bun, and he'd say, "Wow, you look really nice today."
Do you
And
think he meant it or was he being sarcastic
no,
funny?
he meant it. If you asked him, he meant it.
That might be the biggest green flag.
That he thought I looked good like that?
Yes, if you're coming in from a bender of a night looking rough and he thought you looked nice,
It's probably why he's still trying to shove alcohol down my throat now. He's
that's
like,
a
"Why don't
winner.
you look nice anymore?"
He's like, I thought you looked your nicest after a bender.
Yeah.
I want that mole
I
back.
want that one back. She seems traveled.
She seems worldly.
Yeah, worldly, well versed.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I guess that was nice, like meeting Caleb in college in my younger years.
Yeah.
Graduating college was nice.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know if I can pinpoint one moment where I'm like, yeah, that's my I mean, I had a I had a great time at Electric Forest.
Oh my god.
That was fun.
There's just, like, no hard-hitting memories that I'm like, "This was amazing." You know?
Yeah. Not really for me either, but I think that's because I was, like, just doing the same thing all the time, you know? Like, in your younger 20s, I guess, you're still in college, almost at the end of college, you have no money, like,
Yeah,
you're just
literally.
most of the time drinking or just hanging out with friends all the time.
You're very all over the place in your early 20s.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's those very few that the senior year, they were like, "I'm taking this career path. I'm going to college for this, and I will become this."
Yeah.
And they still are that.
Yeah, and they're doing great.
Great. And that's also impressive. But I can tell you that wasn't me. I didn't just tell you about myself.
No?
No. I literally had no idea what I wanted to go to college for. Not one clue.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't either. I changed, I think, three times before I figured out what I actually wanted to do.
Yeah. And I think it's wild that they expect you to know what you wanna do the rest of your life at 18 years old.
Yeah, and I think on top of it, I know, like, on top of it for me was, like, the cost that you were
Yeah.
signing up for at 18 years old.
Yes. And just, like, the pressure alone that I felt in high school that you have to go to college. Like, it's
Yeah,
your
like
only option,
yeah,
which it's not. There's plenty of trade school, other options you can do. I mean,
military mole.
yeah, we could have had us a military mole.
You
Um,
could have.
that
I
was
was
a
so close.
that was a thought for mole.
If only my mom would have signed those damn papers.
Gosh, dang it, Paula.
I know. She told me, I would get just taken advantage of as a woman in the military, so
I I mean, I couldn't have done it.
yeah, I now looking back on it, there's no shot. I mean, props to everybody that can do it. I would love to pick your brain and like talk to you about it. Like
Yeah.
Caleb and I have a friend that's pretty close to us that was in the Marines and he has some pretty tough stories and he doesn't talk about it much, but from what he does share, like it just amazes me that there are people like what we were saying that grow up to and they know exactly what they want to do, whether that be go to college and become a doctor, become a nurse, a dentist, and
Mhm.
then you have people that know that they want to join the military and it's like, how do you know
Yes.
that at 18?
Right. How do you like and a lot of people knew what they wanted to do before they were 18. Like, all the way through
Yeah.
high school, I know people that knew exactly the career path they were gonna take,
Yeah.
which is, from my perspective, is wild.
Same.
I was a clueless as you could get.
But I guess maybe this is where we'd need Avery to chime in because I feel like Avery knew exactly what she wanted to do, where me and you were
Yeah.
both kind of like a little lost. And I feel Avery from the beginning was like, I want to be a dental hygienist.
Yeah, that's true. Avery did know, and
Stupid bitch.
she went dumb bitch.
Dumb
Just
bitch.
kidding. She's not here to defend herself, so we can poke fun.
Good news is we'd say it to her face. So
Yeah, that I would say it directly to her face.
probably have.
I several times. But even like I mean like Morgan, she too
Yeah.
knew she wanted to become a nurse, and I know a lot of other people that knew their career path, and that's awesome. I love that for
Yeah.
them.
So
Um,
then would you say, kind of going into like the topic for the day, like with you not knowing your career path, can you like speak on maybe a failure that you had or like how you kind of learned from that and it directed you into, another path or where you're at today?
yeah, I mean, so I went to college for horticulture, which was decided based off me and my mom just looking at Kishwaukee's career path options and me going down the list and saying, that sounds okay.
I
That
wish I was a
no.
fly on the wall for this conversation.
It would have been an interesting one because half of them I was like, "What even is that? Like, what would I even be studying?"
Yeah. What would I be studying? What could I do with that after? Like, what am I
Yes.
qualified for?
And I cannot even tell you what made me land on horticulture. No clue. I just thought like, "Oh, I could study plants. I like plants," or go into sports turf management, because I played softball at Kish, so I was like, "Oh, that would be kinda cool to study sports turf," but I didn't. I chose greenhouse management. Um, but I did take some sports turf classes and some floral design classes.
Okay.
She is well
She's well
studied
versed.
in the
Yeah.
horticulture department. Um, I did take a tree class where we literally
Oh, that's cool.
is it? We literally would take tree walks, and I'm getting off topic of what you asked me, but we would literally take tree walks, and our teacher would just point at a tree and be like, "What's this tree? And what's its, like, fucking Latin name?" Yeah, and that was
Wow.
our class. Like, we would meet at different locations.
Is this where you lead into your biggest failure that you didn't know the tree names or
Essentially, yeah. That's my biggest failure in life. I'm just kidding. Um, I would say I went through a lot of failures in my early 20s. Like, I did bounce from a lot of jobs in my early 20s because I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't have that set career in my mind. Um, so, I mean, I had a lot of jobs. I worked at the car wash. I worked at the dental office as a dental assistant. I worked at the Village Progress. I helped out with there for a couple of seasons. I worked at Prairie View Golf Course. Um, I'm sure I'm missing some. I mean, I was an EMT for years. I mean, I did test the waters, um, being a firefighter.
Wow.
I I learned
Wait, I
real
think
quick.
I remember your outfit, or was that your EMT outfit with the black boots?
Um, I don't know. I wore black boots for both of them.
Oh, okay, maybe I'm just thinking of both.
Yeah, I did test the firefighter thing out. Learned real quick. Wasn't for me. Um, it's a really fucking hard job. Um, Also learned that the EMT thing wasn't for me either. Like, there are times I do miss it, don't get me wrong, but I don't miss the hours or, like, just the constant, like, it consumed me,
Yeah.
and I did get burnt out from it. And I think too, being an EMT in the town that you grew up in, I wouldn't advise
Mhm. Yeah,
because I knew everyone, like, which brought me comfort knowing, like, if a family member called 911 that I would be the one to show up, but that's also kinda
I
traumatizing.
was gonna say at the same time, would you wanna be the one to show up? I don't know.
Like, there was some comfort knowing, like, if I showed up, like, I would know what to do, I'd know how to help them, but at the same time, like, that was just always a constant fear. Like, I would be on shift and be like, "Oh, like, who's gonna call 911 tonight? Like, is it gonna be a family member, a friend?" Like, I have a lot of family that lives in the town I worked. Like, parents, aunts, uncles, grandma, like,
Yeah,
well,
jeez.
for a lot of years, cousins. So, yeah, I learned real quick that also wasn't for me. I wouldn't necessarily call it a failure, but it was definitely a learning experience.
Yeah, I
If
would say I would.
I feel like my only failure was probably being a dental assistant. I did get fired from that job.
So is that how you learned out real quick it wasn't for you?
Yeah, I was so miserable working there, and I just wasn't my best self because it was also when I lived at the 838.
Yeah, RIP.
Um, priorities were not my priorities were not my priority at the time.
Yeah,
So, that was a I would call that a failure because I
yeah,
wasn't at my best. I wasn't giving that job what I could've, but also
yeah,
I absolutely hated it, so
yeah. I mean, hey, don't stay where you're at. I mean, in your 20s, it's kinda hard. I see where you're coming from. Like, do we wanna call them failures, or do we just wanna, like, I don't know, how else what else would you call that? 'Cause I wouldn't say any of that is a failure, and when I sit here and I think about, failing in my early 20s, the only thing I can think about is failing accounting, but I wouldn't say I
I would
wouldn't
say
say failure. Like, I'm not a
right.
like
I would say maybe I failed for a while managing my money.
Okay.
Like, I guess I don't know, when you're making money at that age and, like, you don't have your parents, like when you're living on your own, you don't have your parents like, "Hey, you should save this money because you have to pay for
Yeah,
this, this, and this." I mean, like, we were living at the 838, we were going out all the time, we were paying a lot of bar tabs.
we were.
And that, at the time, like, was our priority in a fucked up way. Like,
Yeah.
when's our next night out, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, like, surviving
And
the week to get to your next night out, and then you're
yes.
spending money, you're not being taught, like, they don't teach you in college how to invest your money, how
No!
to save your money.
They don't teach you shit in high school or college about that. Like,
No.
nothing, and
No.
it's wild. So you almost have to,
Yeah.
like I feel like I learned the hard way in that sense, um, of just how to manage your money and be responsible and understand that you have to make it a priority to pay your bills first,
Yep.
and then you figure out your extra spending cash.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people learn in their early 20s. Like, I can say,
Yeah.
now that you said that, I would say that was definitely one of my failures, I didn't really change jobs too much. I was a lifeguard at our Y or whatever you wanna call it in town
Mhm.
for all through high school, and then when I was going to community college, so a semester, and then I transferred and I worked at Dick's Sporting Goods in college as well as I was a waitress.
Yeah.
Um, and then when I graduated, I went into um, a management position, and then I've been in that same industry, different company, but I've been in that same industry till this day. But I would say definitely struggling with money,
Mhm.
but kind of allowing yourself in your early 20s to try different things and allow
Yeah.
yourself to fail and then just accept the incomes and learn from them and move on,
Right.
especially with finances, because the older you get, the more important it is.
Yes. And I feel like too, when I was living with Avery and Morgan at the 838 was a time in my life that I didn't have my career figured out, and those 2 did.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, as much as I love that for them, and I would never bash on that, it was just from my point of view, like, I was very lost.
Mhm.
Like, I was always comparing myself to them. Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, they have their career figured out. They have amazing careers. They're making great money, and here I am, I'm back in school. I just became an EMT. I have another job." Like, it was just a really weird time in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I can't even explain it, but like we've said before, no one can hand me any amount of money and say, "Go back to your early 20s."
Yeah.
I would say, "Get
Definitely not.
lost."
Me too. I would say keep your money because I learned how to save my own.
Yeah. I learned how to manage my own money now, and there's just no way. You couldn't pay me enough.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no way.
No. I would definitely agree with that statement. And I would also say, like, along that journey for me, you know, I had I had a lot of friends kind of enter my life in my younger
Mhm.
20s, and I've kind of came out of my younger 20s, I've had a lot of friends leave my life.
Yeah.
Um Obviously I've also had a lot stay, and they'll be my lifelong friends until they, want to break up with me, I guess, and not be my friends anymore.
Who could break up
um
with a mole?
That's what I'm saying. But I would say definitely in my younger 20s, it was a tough pill to swallow, but learning, people come into your life for different reasons. They come into your life for seasons, and to
Yeah.
kind of accept that. Like, I think in your younger 20s, kind of what you're saying is you're trying to figure out who you are. And along that journey, you're trying to make friends to help define who you are. And
Mhm.
then eventually you realize kind of what relationships work and like what relationships don't, and
Yeah.
being okay with allowing them to move on.
Yes. And too, like, can we talk about work friends?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I
I
love
feel
my
like
work friends.
yes, and I feel like I made a lot of work friends through my jobs, I think it's so funny, like, in my early 20s, like, I had work friends that were, like, 50 years old, and they were my
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah.
Like, they
Me
were my
too.
favorite work friends, and outside
Yeah.
of work, like, it's just funny the people that like you said, come into your life for the season that you're in, and
Yeah.
there's people that stay, and so there's people that just are there for that season, and that's okay too, like, you just go through I feel like you go through so many phases in your early 20s, and it's a lot of learning to navigate life, relationships, and those relationships don't always last, or there's some, like you said, like, you got your college friends, and I feel like I went through phase of course, I had my college friends that I played softball with, but I feel like I mean, I didn't keep any connections from those friendships after I was done
Yeah.
playing softball. Like, I was honestly, this sounds bad, but I probably was just friends with them because I
It's
spent
convenient.
80 hours a week with them
Right.
at practice and
You kinda had to
games.
be.
Right, like, it would've been miserable if I wasn't friends with people I was spending that much time with, but
Yeah.
then there's Avery, Holly, and Morgan that have been my friends for years through all those phases we talked about. High
Mhm.
school, college, your early 20s, and now into our 30s, like, those are my lifelong friends, and you, obviously, bitch.
Bitch. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I think mine, like, from a different perspective is I don't really obviously, the people you just named and then yourself, but
Mhm.
I don't really keep in touch with anybody from high school. Like, my class was just a little different. But I obviously, when I was in high school, like, I was very close with those girls, those guys,
Yeah.
and, I didn't think anything different, and then when I went to college, I mean, a lot of us went away to college, where
Yeah.
some other classes, they didn't go away to college, and if they did, like, only a select few of them did, and we
Yeah.
all went away to college, didn't really stay in touch, and then I made a lot of good friends once I got to ISU, but then shortly after college, I had to cut some ties with some of those friends just because we had
Mhm.
different views and different opinions, and um, they really didn't how do I wanna say it? They weren't filling my cup anymore.
Yes.
If anything, they were draining it, but that's not anything that's their fault. It's just we just were going
Right.
different
You just
directions.
evolved and changed as a person and was going down a different path, and you just different things aligned for you versus
Yeah.
what was aligning for them, and that's totally fine. I mean, we grow as humans, and I feel like from who I was in my early 20s to who I am now was I mean, I'll be 31 in, like, 4.5 months, which
My
is
god, you're old.
I know. That's another thing, like, besides Westcott I mean, that's another shout out, longtime friend, Westy. Um, I'm the oldest of Avery, Holly, and Morgan, so and the thought of, like because I feel like Holly literally just turned 30. Like, her birthday's at the end of August, and now here I'm like, "I'll be 31 in 4.5 months."
Well, and yeah. I feel like Morgan just turned 29. I just remember at my bachelorette party being like,
Yes.
29?
Yeah, it was her birthday, and we're like, "Morgan's 29." Like,
Yeah. It's
it's also
crazy.
crazy how fast time flies. Like, I feel like the older we get, the quicker time goes, especially now that, like, being in our 30s, like, I swear to you, I just turned 30,
Yeah.
and now my 31st birthday is coming up on the horizon, and I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah,
And I mean, Mole,
it's creeping around the corner for me.
it's
I know.
creeping around the corner for you too. What are
Yeah,
you, a year and, like, 5 months away from 30?
yeah. About
Less?
I don't
More?
know. I can't. My brain, I just cannot right now. But yeah, I'm pretty damn close. I would say like a year and 6 months, maybe.
Yeah, 'cause yeah, June yeah, you guys can do
Yeah.
the math.
Yeah, you guys do the math.
She just turned 28 in June, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So
uh
she's not far behind, but she's also still got
I
a
still
good
got some
chunk.
time. Yeah.
You do.
Everybody Avery and Stick are just always lumping me in with the 30-year-olds.
I know. Well, I feel like you're in, like you're the same as us, so I'm like, Mel's 32. 30
Yeah.
also, she's not 32, she's
I've
also 30.
yeah. 30, flirty, and thriving.
Yes.
Yeah. I would say, one other thing that I learned in my I would say more mid-20s, I guess, than maybe not as much early 20s. I would say around, like, 24, 25 is just, you're kind of in that age where you're graduated from college or you're working a job, or maybe your friends are working and you're still trying to figure it out wherever you're at,
Mhm.
but you slowly start to realize that, "Oh my gosh, like, if I wanna
Mm.
hang out with friends, I have to actually plan it," you know? So if you wanna go
Yeah,
do something, you have to do it alone, and it's scary.
yeah. It's definitely scary at first learning, I guess, to be alone because after after I moved out of the 838, I moved back home with my parents. Um, but then I bought my own house and I lived alone, which was actually I actually really liked it because I think it did help me evolve into being able to do things alone and live alone and figure out a routine
Mhm.
alone.
Yeah.
Um, like I did not mind coming home from work and just being alone and doing my own thing. And of course, right after I bought my own house is when I met Dylan. Because before I was like, I'm gonna buy my own house. Like, I can do this by myself. I don't need to be in a relationship or find a man. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
and then I met him.
I
I
feel like
was
that's when it
like,
always happens,
I
though.
know when you least expect it and you're not planning for it,
Yeah.
and then it's like, boom,
And then you're like, "Wait
here
a
he
minute, give
is.
me a few months on my own, like, what are
I
you
know.
doing
People
here?"
were like, "Didn't you just buy your house and now you're selling it?" And I was like, "Well, a year ago,
Well.
yeah. Mhm. Life
Yeah.
changed."
I remember my first, like, work trip where they're like, "Oh, you're gonna go on your own to another state
Oh
and
my
go to this
god.
conference." I remember being like, "Wait a minute, I haven't even, like, gone out to eat on my own. I haven't even
Yeah.
really gone to get a coffee on my own, and now I'm gonna fly. I'm
I
gonna
feel like
stay."
that is a whole 'nother level of navigating alone.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was terrifying, and now kind of like what you're saying, though, I wouldn't have I loved it. I mean, I love traveling alone now. Like,
Yeah.
that first time that I did it for work, I was terrified. I remember in typical McCall fashion, went out and got hammered the night before. My flight was at 6 AM, and I missed my flight,
Oh,
and
shit.
so maybe that was one of my failures, but I remember being like
It's coming
I
back to you.
remember yeah, it's all coming back to me now. Being in the line, it was an American Airlines line, baggage claim to put my bag up, and the lady was like, "I can still get you on the flight, but I can't send your bag, like, it's too
Oh,
late."
shit.
And I remember crying, like, sobbing to this lady, just being like, "Please, it's a work trip, it's my first work trip, like, I can't miss
Oh,
this flight."
no. And how old were you? You were
20
young.
yeah, I was young. I was, like, I don't know, 22?
Ain't no fucking way.
Yeah,
I
22
would
or
have been
yeah.
traveling alone at
Yeah.
22 for a let alone traveling alone, but for a work trip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like even at 30 right now, I'm like, I don't wanna travel alone.
Yeah.
Like a big like, get on a flight and travel somewhere alone?
Yeah, get on a flight, get a rental car. And we grew up in BFE for those who are
Yeah.
listening and they don't know. Like we were 2 hours away from the nearest airport. Like
Yeah.
this was wild for me to
That's like a
to
whole day. I mean, it's a whole day of traveling.
yeah, it was a whole day of traveling. And so I remember begging this lady like, "Please, like I can't miss this flight. I can't miss this flight." And she was like, "Let me see what I can do." And obviously that day like I was just traveling, like it was a travel day. I didn't have anything planned for work, so I didn't really have any like time constraints, thank God.
Yeah.
Um But she was able to just move me over to a later flight, but this was at 6 AM in the morning, so the next flight wasn't until 1 PM
Oh my
in the
gosh.
afternoon, so I was just sitting in O'Hare
For
till
literally, like, 7 hours.
yeah, hungover as shit, still wearing my
Oh,
pajamas, my hair hadn't been brushed.
you
It
should've went
was
straight to the airport bar.
yeah, I probably would've missed another flight.
Turns out you're 6 airport beers deep.
Yeah, turns out I'm 6 airport beers deep, 6 planes missed.
We're actually just not gonna make it on the Strip.
Yeah, not gonna make it. But I remember once I got on that plane, once I actually made it on the plane and I touched down where I was going, I was like, "This is so cool." I
You're like,
felt
"I'm
so
a
much like an
boss
adult.
lady."
Yeah, it was awesome, and I think at that point, I learned, like, I guess, how to be alone and how to travel alone. I kinda just got thrown into it, but now
Yeah.
you can ask Caleb, I go to the movies alone, I'll go out to eat
No,
alone. Yeah, you
you
need your alone
are
time.
Miss Independent.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like a I'll go shopping alone. Like, I would like, but I don't know if I would go see a movie alone.
Oh, sticker. You have
Mainly
to go
because
see a
I'd fear for
movie.
my life where I have to go see a movie.
Like, you're gonna get murdered in the movie theater or what?
Yeah, like, I don't wanna go to Rockford alone for a movie.
That's true, like, where you live is a little bit different, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I live now, I it's like 18,000 people.
Yeah, that's a lot. What's the crime rate like? Because Rockford's, like, number 2 in the country.
Oh, we're definitely not on the map, baby. We got less than that. Let's see.
There's just so many things that happen in Rockford that I'm like, "Meh."
So the crime rate where I live now is 16.25%.
Look up Rockford because I don't really know what that means, so maybe, like, if Rockford's way higher, obviously, it's a lot worse. Maybe it means, like, 16%, like,
Oh, wait.
per the population?
Okay, so the crime rate in Rockford per 1,000 residents, violent crimes is 14.42, but total crime is 41.05.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big jump.
Yeah. I mean, at least the violent crime isn't even half.
I feel like have they updated that recently?
I don't know.
I feel like that's wrong.
Yeah, it says Rockford's still holding the third highest rate of aggravated assault among small cities.
See? Not good.
Not good.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll beat bop over to Target and Home Goods and everything by myself, but, like, to go to the movie theater by myself,
Yeah, that's a little different for you. I
yeah,
wouldn't either. Yeah.
but I do still enjoy my alone time. Like, I do love just sitting. Dylan makes fun of me all the time because we'll get in my car together and the radio is not even on.
Oh my gosh, I do that too.
Yeah, I just like to sit in silence and drive in silence by myself sometimes.
Yeah. It's honestly relaxing because I feel like it's the only time
Yeah.
where my brain is not like, I mean, that sounds bad because I'm driving. My brain is thinking, but like it's not thinking.
It's not thinking about a million other things.
Yeah.
Like, you're just zenning out on a drive, like, just beat bopping to your own beat. Like, I'm like, I don't need the radio sometimes.
Yeah.
Or
Me
we'll be
either.
like, we'll start driving somewhere and it'll be like 15 minutes and Dylan will be like, "Oh my god, I love this song." And the radio
And
hasn't
it's
been on the
silence.
entire time. I'm like, "Oh," and sometimes I don't even notice. I'm like, "Well, it's just how I roll sometimes."
Yeah. We don't like to we like to be non-stimulated girlies sometimes.
Yeah, just relax, you know?
Yeah.
Not that I
Yeah.
drive a lot of places because I work from home, but when I
What do you mean? You
do,
drive right yourself right out of bed right to your desk.
that's true. I do drive about 3 blocks in the morning to go to Pilates, but most days that's about as far as the old Yeep goes, so
Hey, saving the miles, baby.
but sometimes you gotta burn the cobwebs off the engine and zip on up to Target, you know?
Oh yeah. Just carry your Glock.
Yeah, yeah, better be packing.
Yeah. So I guess really the moral of the story for, what we learned, lesson we learned for that one is just be comfortable doing things alone. Kind of
Yeah,
learn to enjoy yourself as company, as weird as that sounds. But in turn, I think, I like kind of going off of our last episode where Stick talked about like her health journey and everything. Definitely having that alone time helps you kind of learn to love yourself more and not rely on other people for happiness. I think a lot of times in my younger
yeah,
20s, I was constantly relying on my friends to do things with
Mhm.
me, to make me happy, to make memories, or also relying on when I hit this age or when I hit this milestone, I'm gonna be
Yes.
happy.
Oh my gosh. I think that's such a huge thing, especially in our generation now, is the expectations that society has for us at certain
Mhm.
ages.
Yeah.
Like they say like, "Oh my god, you're 30 and you don't have kids yet." Or, I mean, I didn't get married till I was 28,
Yeah.
and there's just like the older generation thinks like, "Oh, you should be married like your early 20s, you should pop out kids right away, like you should have bought a house before all that." And there's just so many of that older generation that thinks you have to do this step at this point at this age. And if you haven't gotten to that point yet, say by your 30s,
Mhm.
that something's almost wrong with you,
Yeah.
which is like society's expectations on literally everything, like honestly make me so mad because then it makes people feel the pressure and think they have to get into relationships, into marriages, or into a living situation, and they're not happy, but they're doing it because it's what society expects them to do.
Yeah, it's just the next, like, organic step alongside
Yes.
with, like, going off of that is also, like, society thinking, like, you need to live, like, a certain lavish lifestyle, like, when you see other girls in their 20s, going out and going to Cabo, going to Cancun, going to Italy,
Yes.
traveling the world, and you're, not doing the same thing, and you feel like you aren't building those life experience to in turn get you to those milestone points that the
Yeah.
older generation really wants you, really asks you why you're not there yet, I guess.
Mhm.
Can definitely deter your happiness and kind of cloud your vision, and you aren't able to realize, like, you know what? If I wanted to do those things, like, I would be doing those things, but I'm happy doing what I'm doing now, and eventually
Yes.
when those opportunities come up, then I'll be even happier.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing I can take away from my early 20s too, is to not don't fall into the pressure of society.
Mhm.
Like, you don't have to have everything figured out in your early 20s, and I don't think you should.
No.
Like, and like I said before, like, I'm a completely different person I was in my early 20s, like, God, I hope so. But I just think, like, society just puts so much pressure on young adults, and I feel like, even just like we said before, like, the pressure of going to college, or you have to have a job at this age, you have to have a career set, like, just don't listen to fucking society. Do
Mhm.
what makes you happy, do, like, what you said fills your cup, and don't fall for the pressures of all the bullshit in this world. Like, I feel like even now, I mean, we'll get into this topic of kids and all that, I think in our next episode we're gonna do. Um, but I mean, even being a 30-year-old married woman with no kids, I know there's people out there that are like, "You don't have kids yet? You're
Mhm.
30, you're gonna be 31, like, why don't you have kids?" You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's another thing of society expects you to have kids and have a family before you're 30. And
Yeah.
that's also not our generation anymore. I feel like so many people are having kids well into their 30s now. Like, that's just more of the norm. Um,
Well, and I think, like, I don't wanna, like, spiral you off this topic or, like, spiral further down a different rabbit hole, but, like, it kinda has to be now. I mean, it's really hard to have a kid in your younger 20s, because, like, what we kinda
yeah.
described before, you're trying to figure out your career, you're trying to make memories, you're making those mistakes in order to figure out what you wanna do, who you wanna be,
Yes.
and then by the time you get there, it's like, okay, you've graduated from school or you've hit your mid-20s and you're working in your career, and you why did I just lose my train of thought? Jesus.
Uh-oh, Molly.
Um, oh, now I know what I'm saying. Because you realize that you can't afford to have a kid yet. You know what I mean? Like,
No, yeah, you're not financially stable, you're not financially responsible.
yeah,
There's
both of
no
you have to
way.
work. Both parties have to work. And,
Yeah.
childcare, as we've touched on in other episodes, is expensive.
Yeah, especially in this economy, like, bringing a kid into this current world is not fucking cheap.
No, buying a house, yeah, bringing a kid, a lot of people want to have a house. Like in my
Yeah.
perfect vision, we wanted to get married, we wanted to have a house, we wanted to have
Mhm.
some money in our savings before we had a kid. And shit happens, and it pushes that
Yeah,
timeline out. And I think it's kind of what we touched on before, is allowing society not to hinder your happiness. Like that shouldn't
yeah,
deter you being happy for hitting those milestones.
right, and big or small milestones, it could be, you know, the smallest milestone versus the biggest milestone.
Yeah.
I feel like they all should be celebrated, and you shouldn't also compare yourself to other people's milestones. Like,
Yeah.
just because someone else got married or had a kid or bought a house early, it doesn't mean that you're a failure because you aren't doing those things.
Right. And I
Like,
think that's like another hard pill to swallow when you're in
yeah.
your younger 20s, because you're trying to find what makes you happy and find your own happiness, and you're constantly
Mhm.
seeing people around you hit certain milestones, and you're seeing that they're happy, and you kind of set that, oh, when I buy a house, or when I get married,
Mhm.
or when I have a kid, like I'll be just as happy as so and so. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's
Um
also not always the case
no. And
'cause
unfortunately, I think we both learned the hard way. I wasn't that happy. I'm saying I was happy when I bought a house, got married, and had kids. But other examples, like I didn't get that happiness that I thought I was going to get from hitting certain milestones that I
right.
didn't say.
Yes. I'd agree. And I feel like a lot of it did stem from, "Oh, this person did it, so I'm gonna do it." But not everyone wants the same thing or not everything brings people the same happiness.
Yeah.
And that's also fucking okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
nobody has to be the same, and what brings me happiness may not bring you happiness, and
Right.
vice versa. Like, it's all like, happiness is a choice, and I think you should really, really think about what you want and not make decisions based off what people are putting in your ear.
Yeah, definitely figure out what you want. Figure out what makes you happy. Don't be a people pleaser. And
Yeah, ugh,
it might take you longer to hit certain milestones. And who knows, maybe buying a house right now or in your younger 20s isn't a milestone that you really want to hit that would make you happy. But if you had it in your 30s and you finally figured out where you wanted to live, like you would be ecstatic, like certain milestones hit different depending on when you want them, I guess, is kind of
yeah,
what I'm
and
saying.
I think getting married at 22 or getting married at 40, like, regardless of when that happens in your life, it shouldn't be less celebrated because you hit the milestone later in life.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like at any point, like, happy bottom line, your happiness is all that matters. And
Yeah.
whether you hit certain milestones at a certain age, it doesn't fucking matter.
Nah.
It does not fucking matter.
So I guess that kind of goes into one other topic that I had, is just kind of being patient in your younger 20s. I mean,
Yes.
in living in the moment. Um, I had written down here in my notes is, don't bank on a milestone in the future to make you happy. Don't try to be the older than you are. And I think that hits pretty hard for me.
Yeah.
Um, I'm definitely somebody who, I really wanted to work. I wanted to make money. I wanted to grind. I know we touched on that in earlier episodes, but I
Yeah.
started working when I was 15 on a worker's permit. And
Yeah.
I don't think I really ever backed down since, because that's what I
Mm-mm.
wanted. And unfortunately, I think I did lose a lot of, um, I would say that I was constantly always chasing that next age, chasing that next milestone.
Yeah.
And I really didn't allow myself to kind of stop and actually live in the moment until,
Like, enjoy your 20s. Like, that's another thing too,
yeah,
like, enjoy your early 20s. Don't worry about all these milestones because you're gonna get there. It's gonna happen for you. And like I said in an earlier episode, what I could go back and tell myself is everything's gonna be okay.
yeah.
Everything's gonna work out. You just have to
Hmm.
trust the process and like you said, be patient.
Yeah. and enjoy the moment. Like, enjoy the current state that you're in. Like,
Yeah,
does life have challenges? Like, yeah, for sure. But it also,
absolutely.
no matter where you look, life is all about how you view it. And um,
Yes.
you can definitely make lemonade out of lemons. So
There you go. I like
thank you.
the
I almost said you can make
little, was that
lemons
a
out of
pun?
lemonade.
I mean, you might. You could.
You could, I guess. I don't know how, but science.
Yeah, science, baby, not our degree.
No, not our strong suits.
Nope. Nope.
So to kind of wrap up the episode, I know we went down a lot of different stories and a lot of different avenues.
Yeah, I hope
Our
that made
main
sense.
Yeah, I hope it made sense. We're tired over here.
Yeah.
um, but the 5 main takeaways I think that we all kind of agreed on. I know Avery's not on the episode, but we all kind of agreed on in our early 20s is just friendships fade, relationships, they go away for reasons and they only last seasons, and to learn to embrace your failures in your 20s cuz that's kind of the groundwork to develop who you're going to be, later in
Yeah.
life, and um do things alone, happiness is a choice, and then be patient living in the moment. As hard as it might seem at the time, you're really going to look back and be grateful that um you kind of allowed yourself grace during that period. And maybe you'd say differently than me and Stick on here saying we wouldn't pay take any amounts of money to go back to our 20s, but
Yeah, but I mean, everyone has different experiences. I'm sure there's people that would say, "Hell yeah, take me back to my early 20s."
yeah.
But that's just not us. I mean, in 10 years, will I say take me back to my early 30s? Absolutely.
10 years will I say take me back to my early 20s cuz my body hates me? Most likely.
Yeah, everything changes. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there isn't a football recap this week. I mean, we can chat about the Bills game, but I feel like I should save the football fun with Avery because we all
Yeah,
know
my
McCall is a big football fan.
my football banter is not
Less than
up to
par.
par. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll save that banter for next week with Avery and I. But I guess all I have to say for football this week is go Bills, baby. We're
what
back.
was that? Go Bears. Go
Go
Bears, baby.
Bills. Bills.
Bears. Ugh. All right. Well, as always, thank you guys for tuning into the episode. If you liked this, feel free to go ahead and hit follow and the bell notification on our Spotify. We do appreciate you guys tuning into these episodes. We enjoy doing them, and we hope to keep it going.
Yeah. Catch you next time.
See you next time.
Blacked out, baby.